All right, the stage is yours. Welcome back. So I'll just do a little intro if you want.
Yeah.
Okay. So for anybody who's watching the recording, this is part 2 of Amanda joining us to talk about various different things, and she'll reintroduce things for those of you that weren't here. And this recording or today will be more interactive. So if you're watching this later and you have any questions, feel free to message me and I can get you either in contact with Amanda or find the answers to your questions. So, stage is yours.
All right. So yeah, on Tuesday, we talked a lot about tapping and the science behind it and what it is, but we didn't do any tapping. We didn't really get into the practice of tapping. So today I kind of wanted to give an overview and a reminder of some of the things from Tuesday and then actually do some practice tapping. And so first off, I wanted to kind of explain the tapping points. So we typically start at the karate chop point, which is the side of our hand. And so we take the fingers from one hand and tap along the side of the hand, or we tap the sides of our hands together. And then we have the top of the head, which is if you draw a line from your nose up and your ears up, and where those lines meet, you would tap at the top of your head. And then we have eyebrow point, which is kind of right above the upper part of the eyebrow here. And then we have side of the eye, which is literally right out from the side of your eye. Under the eye, it's right here kind of on your cheekbones underneath your eye. We have nose. So that's going to be between the bottom of your nose and the top of your lip. Then we have chin, which is going to just be there between the bottom of your bottom lip and kind of the top of your chin. I've got a nice little groove there in mine. And then there's the collarbone point, which is literally over your collarbones. And then sometimes we do under the arms and chest. I typically skip those and go from collarbone to wrist point. That's literally just tapping your wrists together. And then if we're still not done with the sequence, we'll go from wrist point back up to the top of the head. The karate chop point, or the side of the hand, is only used at the start of a round of tapping. Excuse me. So speaking of rounds of tapping kind of has 3 different parts to it. There's a venting round or part, there's possibility, and affirmations. So venting happens when the emotion that we're wanting to tap on, or the incident, or whatever's going on, is at that intensity between an 8 and a 10. So we're feeling it pretty intensely in our bodies. And we're needing to kind of give it space to be recognized and honored. If we're between a 4 and a 7, so that emotion or the event or whatever we're wanting to tap on is not as intense, right? We're feeling a little more in control. We can introduce possibility. And so that means we can introduce language around letting go of the feelings and moving on to new feelings. And then once we're down between a 3 and a 0, we've calmed ourselves down, we've vented and worked through that emotion, we've introduced some possibility, and then we can start to bring in affirmations. So those are those positive statements like, I am enough, I am worthy, I am safe, I am calm, things like that. So those are kind of the 3 rounds. And tapping doesn't always move linearly from venting to possibility to affirmations. Sometimes we'll vent for a couple rounds in order to get the numbers down, and then we'll be in possibility, and the subconscious in our brain might bring something back up, and we're back up to venting. But for today, we're going to kind of do a linear practice where we kind of do a round of venting, do a round of possibility, and then maybe do a couple rounds of affirmations. So I'm just going to pretend like I have an audience of people here tapping along. Tapping is a lot like Simon Says. So I, as a practitioner, will start tapping on my body, and I'll kind of prompt you to do that as well. And then I'll say a phrase, and I'll stop and give space for you to repeat that phrase. And so you'll just keep tapping along with me, and you'll repeat that phrase, and then I'll move to the next point, or I'll prompt for the next phrase and leave space again. So for those of you watching the replay, it might be a little awkward because you're going to see me say something and then pause. In that pause, that's the point where you get to repeat what I said. I also want to let you know that you can always change the language. So I'm going to be using anxiety probably as the emotion today, because anxiety is something that we collectively are feeling right now, because there is just a lot of uncertainty in our world and a lot of things going on. You guys are having to navigate school and life in a very different way now that we're in a pandemic and doing things the best we can in this situation. And I know anxiety is present for most of us. So anxiety is going to be what I focus on today. I'm just going to kind of use my own language and my own example. So in tapping, we talk a lot about where the emotions live in our body. So if I say stomach, but for you, your anxiety is in your chest or your throat or your neck or your shoulders, change the language so that it works for you. So if I say, I feel this anxiety in my stomach, but you feel it in your neck or your shoulders or your back, you would change that language and say, this anxiety that I feel in my neck. Okay. What else do I want to kind of remind you of or let you know before we get started? So tapping can be used in a multitude of ways. It can be used as a daily practice to kind of strengthen our emotional awareness and help us move through emotional states and get to like our optimal emotional state in a day, and kind of build in those affirmations and help replace negative voices in our head with those positive affirmations. It can also be used to interrupt an emotional state. So if you feel the anxiety coming on or anger coming on or sadness, you can use tapping to interrupt in those moments. So again, this is a very general kind of example, but hopefully it will be helpful. So the first thing I always have people do before we start tapping is kind of get comfortable in your seat, whatever that looks like for you. Take a nice big deep breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. Do that a couple more times, just letting go of anything you were doing before and setting aside anything you have to do afterwards. And know that in this time and in this space that your focus and your energy can be on the tapping, and that that's okay, and that's a safe thing to be doing in this moment. So one more nice big deep breath in. And then when you're ready, we'll go ahead and start tapping on the side of your hand. It doesn't matter which hand, whichever one's more comfortable for you. And then again, I'll say a phrase and I'll leave a space for you to repeat after me, and we'll just keep going. So, even though I'm feeling anxious, I love and accept myself anyway. Even though I'm feeling this anxiety and I feel it intensely and I feel it in my stomach, I love and accept myself anyway. Even though this anxiety is really present right now and I feel it in my body, I love and accept myself anyway. Top of the head. I'm feeling really anxious right now. Top of the eye. I feel this anxiety in my stomach. Side of the eye. This anxiety is really intense. Under the eye. I don't like feeling this anxiety. Under the nose. This anxiety makes me uncomfortable. Chin. I feel it in my stomach. Collarbone point. This anxiety is really intense. Wrist point. I don't like feeling anxious. Top of the head. This anxiety makes it hard for me to do things. Eyebrow point. I struggle to focus when I'm anxious. Side of the eye. I really don't like anxiety. Under the eye. It shows up in my stomach. Under the nose. And causes me lots of stress. Chin. I really don't like feeling anxious. Collarbone point. It makes it hard to do the things I need to do. Wrist point. And I really want to let go of this anxiety. So then I would have you stop, take a nice big deep breath in. And so I know we focused a lot on just naming that anxiety, that it was there and present in your body, right? And that's the venting, right? We're just giving that emotion space. We're letting it be seen and heard. We're saying, hey, we know you're here. And, we see you, we feel you. And so typically after a round of venting, you should be feeling a little more relaxed, a little more rested, and ready to kind of jump in and introduce some possibility. So we're going to just kind of keep moving through. Sorry, I do have some old notes in front of me, so I'm taking a peek at those. So in possibility, we're starting to work towards how we want to feel instead of feeling anxious or angry or whatever the emotion is that we're working on. So again, today we're going to be using the example of anxiety, but you can plug in any feeling word. So you can feel in scared, worried, angry, sad, frustrated, disappointed, jealous, right? There's so many feeling words. So in this next round, we're going to kind of introduce some of that possibility and work through acknowledging where we were at and kind of start to wonder how to get to where we'd like to be. So we'll do another round of deep breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth, reminding yourself that it's okay to just be present with the tapping. You can set aside anything else you're doing in the moment. And when you're ready, we'll start again on the side of the hand. So again, just like Simon says, I'll say something and then I'll leave space for you to follow along. And again, you can change any language that doesn't work for you. Even though I'm still feeling a little anxious, I'm starting to feel more calm. And I'm open to letting go of the anxiety. Even though I was really anxious before, and I felt it in my stomach, I give myself permission to let go of that anxiety. And I welcome in calm and peace instead. Even though I'm still a little anxious, and I worry about all the uncertainty, I want to feel differently. And I'm ready to let go of all the anxiety. Top of the head. My anxiety is valid. Top of the eyes. Yet I'm ready to let it go. Side of the eye. I'm ready to feel differently. Under the eye. I'm ready to feel calm. Under the nose. I'm ready to have peace. Chin. Ready to have peace in my body. Collarbone point. I'm ready to feel restful. Wrist point. And feel like I can focus on what I need to focus on. Top of the head. I give myself permission to let go of this anxiety. Eyebrow point. I wonder what it will take to be calm instead. Side of the eye. I'm ready to let go of my anxiety. Under the eye. I'm ready to let go of my worries and fears. Under the nose. I'm ready to welcome in safety. Chin. I'm ready to welcome in calm. Collarbone. I'm ready to welcome in peacefulness. Wrist point. I'm ready to let go of all my anxieties and worries. Top of the head. And I'm ready to let go of my anxieties, worries, and fears. Top of the eye. I welcome in calm and peace instead. Side of the eye. And I let go of all my worries, anxieties, and fears. Another nice big deep breath. Right? So I'm going to just kind of talk for a minute because this is moving pretty quickly. So let's say we were doing anger, right? So in that first round, we vent out anger. And after that first round, right? So maybe it was anger in your stomach and you felt really hot in your body or in your face, and you just vent that out. And then you kind of realize after that first round, you know what, I'm not really angry. I'm disappointed or I'm frustrated. Somebody let me down or something didn't happen that I wanted to have happen. Or maybe I'm really sad. I'm sad because something couldn't happen that I wanted to have happen. You're going to follow that new emotion. And so if you go through anger and anger goes away and it gets lower, like 7 or under, but you realize sadness is there and now sadness is there and it's at like an 8, you're going to vent out the sadness. So even though in this example of anxiety, we're moving from venting to possibility to affirmations, in tapping, you want to follow whatever emotions come up. So if you start at one emotion and after a round or 2 of tapping, that emotion has kind of gone away or it's now, you know, at a very low rating, but there's a new emotion that's come up and it's at a much higher, more intense rating, you're going to want to follow that emotion. So if we have time, I can kind of give more of an example of this, but we're going to follow through and finish up with anxiety. So hopefully that round of introducing possibility and starting to get ready to let go has now moved that anxiety to under a 4, and we're going to pretend that it has. And so we're going to kind of do a round where, let's see, I'm checking in my notes. Maybe it's at a 4. So it's not quite at a 3 and under for the affirmations. So we're not ready to really introduce the positive language, because if we introduce affirmations or that positive language or new emotions to the emotions we want to feel too quickly, what happens is our subconscious resists and says, no, I'm not going to listen to you. I'm not there yet. So we have to really honor what our subconscious is telling us and kind of follow those emotions, follow that language, follow those words that it's telling us. And sometimes it might tell us, you know what, this isn't comfortable anymore. This isn't safe. It might bring up a memory, right, that doesn't feel good. And in that, if you're tapping with your eyes closed, open your eyes, maybe start finger tapping and like start seeing what you can see around the room, right? Like, I'm safe. I can see that I'm in my room. I see my pet. I see my favorite things, right? Or whatever it is. So know that you can always, if tapping gets too intense or like brings up something that's uncomfortable, you can bring yourself out of it, open your eyes and like interrupt with finger tapping and kind of naming things around the room and letting yourself know that you're safe and you know where you're at. It's kind of that mindfulness practice kind of coming into play. So for our example that we're going to go through, I'm going to pretend that you're kind of at a 4 with the anxiety. So we're going to do a little bit more of that possibility language while starting to bring in some of that affirmations. So again, another nice big deep breath. And again, we'll start tapping at the side of the hand. Again, just like Simon says. So I'll say something and give space for you to repeat it. Even though I was anxious before, I give myself permission to let go of that anxiety, and I choose to be hopeful instead. Even though I was anxious before, and I felt it in my stomach, I choose to release that anxiety now. And instead, I welcome in love for myself. Even though I know my anxiety might come back, because there's lots of big things happening in this world, I will honor my anxiety, and then I will choose to let it go. And I will choose peace and resilience instead. Top of the head. The emotions I feel are valid. Top of the eye. The emotions I feel are real. Side of the eye. And I get to choose how I respond. Under the eye. I choose to respond with hope. Under the nose. I choose to respond with love. Chin. I choose to be resilient. Collarbone point. I let go of my anxiety and fear. Wrist point. I let go of my worries and despair. Top of the head. I am hopeful. Top of the eye. I am calm. Side of the eye. I am at peace. Under the eye. I am able to focus. Under the nose. I am hopeful. Chin. I love myself. Collarbone point. I am resilient and strong. Wrist point. I can handle whatever comes my way. Whew. And I threw in some general language. So if nothing else, if you have to, do some quick tapping, just kind of some of this language in this one, right? Like the emotions I feel are valid. My emotions are real. I get to choose how I respond. I know they might come back, but right now I'm choosing to let them go. I'm choosing to be peaceful or calm instead, or hopeful, or whatever you want to get to. So now we're going to do kind of another round of affirmations. And we're going to skip the setup phrases, because when we've kind of gotten down low enough with the affirmations, we can just go in and start right at the top of the head. So we're going to just start right at the top of the head. I've released my anxiety. Eyebrow point. I'm no longer anxious. Side of the eye. I am safe. Under the eye. I am calm. Under the nose. I am worry-free. Chin. I am hopeful. Collarbone point. I am peaceful. Wrist point. I am at peace. Top of the head. I am able to focus on myself. Top of the eye. I let go of the emotions I feel. Side of the eye. And I know that I am safe. Under the eye. I am resilient. Under the nose. I am strong. Chin. And I am in control of my emotions. Whew, that last one's a big one, right? Like sometimes we aren't in control of our emotions. They might come up before we even know where they're coming from. But I like to end on that one because you're in control of how you respond to your emotions and what you tell your emotions. So our body brings up our emotions. Our subconscious brings up our emotions, or really it's the limbic system, right? That brings up our emotions because they have a message. Either a need isn't being met and it wants us to meet that need, or a need has been met, right? Like, and we want to celebrate, or there's joy or happiness, and we want to express that. And so it's important that we listen to our emotions and we recognize them, and then we tell them, thank you. This is what I'm now going to be moving on to, especially if they're those more difficult emotions like anxiety, anger, sadness, grief, those kinds of things, that we can say, thank you. I hear you. I see you. And I'm choosing to move towards this emotion instead. So that was kind of a basic round of tapping. Again, I can do other emotions if you think it would be helpful to have some of that language, Kim. I can kind of let you decide, or tell me if it would be helpful to do another example with another emotion, or I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, we can do anger for sure, because anger is one that often when it comes up, so anger is often a secondary emotion, or called a secondary emotion. And what that means is that anger comes up and we feel it first because it is so good at being loud, right? It literally can raise our body temperature and it just wants to like come out, right? Like we were talking about the movie In and Out, or Inside Out, on Tuesday, and anger in that movie, right? He's red and he's hot and he's got steam coming out of his ears at points. And that's what anger can feel like. But often, if we acknowledge the anger and give anger some space, we'll recognize that there's some other emotion behind that was harder to acknowledge because it was easier to go to anger instead. So I can definitely do a round of anger. So again, I would just invite you to always start with taking a few deep breaths. In through the nose, out through the mouth. And with anger, I'm gonna give this caveat before we start. Like, I'm not here to police your language, and language is a big part of tapping. And so if you're going to tap on yourself and with yourself, be true to your language and make sure you're in a space where you can be true to your language. So if you need to toss in some words that maybe your mom doesn't want to hear you say, right? Because that's how you're really feeling, or, you know, you're at school or somewhere where you can't say those, maybe find a space where you can truly vent that out, or say those words to yourself kind of in your head. Because what you don't ever want to have to do in tapping is censor yourself. You want to honor whatever language is feeling like it resonates and is kind of true to what your brain is telling you. So we'll go ahead and we're going to do an example with anger. So we'll start tapping on the side of your hand. Even though I'm really angry right now, and I feel this anger welling up inside my body, I love and accept myself anyway. Even though I'm really, really angry right now, I'm so angry, I don't even know what to do. And I feel this anger in my body. And I still love and accept myself anyway. Even though this anger is so intense. And I am so mad. And I can feel my face being hot. And I just feel like I want to rage. I love and accept myself anyway. Top of the head. I'm really mad right now. Eyebrow point. I feel this anger in my body. Side of the eye. I feel hot in my face. Under the eye. I feel this anger welling up inside of me. Nose. I'm so mad. Chin. I just feel like I want to hit something. Collarbone point. This anger has me really frustrated. Wrist point. I feel hot to my core. Top of the head. This anger has me really upset. Top of the eye. I am so upset and frustrated. I feel like I might explode. Under the eye. This anger is so intense. Under the nose. It's keeping me from being able to calm down. Chin. Because this anger is so intense. So hopefully, after a round of kind of tapping on that anger and kind of giving it some space, right? Hopefully our subconscious will say to us, all right, I can take a deep breath. Like, I'm not as mad now. I feel it calming. And a lot of times what you'll feel, so if your anger or your anxiety is in maybe your chest, you might feel it move to your throat, or you might feel something move from your stomach up to your chest, up your throat. So we can feel our emotions and that energy they carry kind of move through our body as we tap. So don't be surprised if that happens. Also, another thing that can happen while we're tapping is you might start yawning. And again, that's because the science of tapping, when you're tapping on those acupressure points on your body, you're signaling to some of the systems in your body to calm down. And so you're entering that relaxed state, that rest and repose state. And so naturally, our bodies yawn to keep our oxygen in balance and to help us enter that rest and repose state. So don't be surprised if you feel energy or emotions shifting in your body, or have that yawning kind of come up for you, or you get really tired, right? Tapping can be an energy drain for people, because we're literally shifting our emotions and shifting that energy and where they're at in our body. And it can be kind of draining. So after we do this round of anger tapping, I will give you some tips on how to kind of bring some of that energy back up. So let's say that first round of venting out the anger worked, and now we're ready to bring in some possibility. So we'll do another kind of setup breath of nice breath in through the nose, out through the mouth, and again, following along side of the hand. Even though I was really angry before, I'm starting to calm down now. And I'm wondering what it will take to let this anger go. Even though I was really angry before, and it felt really intense in my body, I'm ready to let that anger go and welcome in calm instead. Even though I was really angry, I wonder what it will take for me to let that anger go and find more peace and calm instead. Top of the head. I wonder what it will take to let go of my anger. Eyebrow point. I was really angry before. Side of the eye. Now I'm ready to release that anger under the eye. And I wonder what it will take for me to let it go under the nose. To let the anger go from my body, chin, and release all the energy, collarbone point, all that energy of being angry. As I'm ready to feel differently now, top of the head, I'm ready to let go of my anger. Top of the eyebrow point, I'm ready to feel calm. Side of the eye, I'm ready to release the anger from my body. Under the eye. And I'm ready to find peace instead. So I'm experiencing what's called residual effects from tapping, because even though I wasn't anxious before or I wasn't angry before, since I've been leading you through this, like I am definitely feeling my body kind of calm down and relax, and I'm definitely getting a little sleepy, right? So we'll do a quick round of affirmations for moving from the anger. So I'm going to look at my feeling words here for a second and see. We're going to go with happy, even though sometimes I have a hard time with the word happy. I don't know why. But we're going to say that happy is where you want to feel instead of angry. And so we're going to work in some affirmations around that. So again, nice big deep breath in, out through the mouth. And we are going to start on the side of the hand for this one because we started out with anger and it was pretty intense. So we're going to honor that. So even though I was really angry before, I'm calm now. And I'm ready to welcome in happiness instead. Even though I felt really angry, I've let that anger go. And I'm choosing happiness instead. Even though anger had a hold of my body, I was able to release all that anger. And now I'm welcoming in happiness instead. Top of the head. I am choosing to be happy now. Eyebrow point. I let my anger go. Side of the eye. I am free from anger. Under the eye. And I welcome in happiness instead. Under the nose. I am allowing happiness to take over. Chin. And fill my body up with joy. Collarbone point. As I have released all my anger. Wrist point. I am free from anger. Top of the head. And I choose happiness and joy instead. Eyebrow point. I feel the happiness filling my body. Side of the eye. It feels like warm sunshine. Under the eye. And I've let my anger go. Under the nose. I will stay in happiness instead. Chin. Sharing my light like the warm sunshine. Collarbone point. Because I am calm. Wrist point. And I am happy. And I know that was a little cheesy, right? Like the warm sunshine light. But sometimes it's good to get that cheesy, right? Like, or be a little silly. Because if we've started out with something really intense and really heavy, lightening that up, so long as it doesn't feel totally ridiculous to your subconscious, right? So long as your subconscious isn't going like, whatever, shut up, right? So, because sometimes we want to bring, and because what that's going to do is going to bring us back up, because tapping, like I said, can really wear us out. So another thing is if you literally feel yourself getting tired, that's another time that finger tapping can come in. And especially if we've gotten to affirmations, I love to do a round of affirmations on your fingertips, because then you literally walk away having your affirmations and those positive statements right there at your fingertips. So for anxiety, we can say, I am safe. I am worry-free. I am in control. I've got this, right? I love myself. Don't worry, be happy, right? It can be those simple kind of things. And for anger, it can be, I'm calming down now. I'm letting go of this anger. I want to find peace instead. I'm choosing to let go of this anger. I feel myself calming down, right? So even if you're at an intense or more intense emotion, or it's in a more intense rating, you can start with the finger tapping, because you might not be where you can kind of say things out loud or be more obvious, right? So finger tapping is always that great tool to either end a session, or if you need to start a session there because you're kind of, it's an emergency, like you feel that anger or that anxiety coming up, and you can just be like, I'm safe, I'm calm, I'm calming down, I know that I'm okay, I can let go of this now, right? And you can pull in some of that mindfulness too, of like naming things you can see, hear, smell, taste, right? Feel, because then you're bringing yourself back into your body. So I don't know if, there's anything else to share. I know that I talked about the yawning, right? The yawning can come up. Tapping can also bring up tears. And I just want to talk about crying for a minute. Crying is a healthy release. And so if you're somewhere though where crying might not be safe to happen, right? Because you want to save yourself the embarrassment, I'm going to teach you a little trick. If you take your finger, and it's right at the bottom of your nose, where the middle part of your nose meets your upper lip, if you take your finger and press up and in, that will hold off tears for a little while. And I know it kind of looks funny, so maybe you act like you're holding a sneeze. But if you, and especially these days, right? Like you don't want to sneeze in public because COVID, right? So act like you're like, oh, I got to hold the sneeze, and get yourself somewhere where you can let those tears flow, because it might not keep them totally at bay. But I like to teach that little trick because that can hold off tears for a little while if you're somewhere where it doesn't feel safe to cry. So that's my little parting trick that I can give you all.
This is super helpful. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. I have headphones. Yeah. I'm multitasking.
You're multitasking. Yes.
Yeah. But as you were doing the finger tapping, I was thinking, I've noticed in myself when I feel overwhelmed or anxious or some type of way I don't want to feel in that moment, I do like this, like I tap my thumb to my finger. And I imagine that's kind of similar sensation-wise.
And if you only have one hand, you can totally do that. So you're going to want to try to hit the side of your finger the best you can versus the tip, but either works. In fact, I've done that while driving. Yeah. It's almost subconscious, like it just happens now. So if I'm stressed out and I only have access to one hand, I will start doing the finger tapping with just one hand. So yeah, it's just taking your thumb and kind of pressing on those other fingers alongside the nail bed.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just, I noticed so many ways that all these things show up in your body. And especially if we've been at home, we can do things and people don't know what we're doing. But if we're at school in class, like you can't just like do this and handle things. You have to kind of find something you can do. But I can see sitting in class doing this just to stay in class.
You can do it under a desk. You can do it, you can have your arm down by your side and nobody has to know, and if you can kind of in your head, I'm okay, I'm safe, I'm calming down, whatever you need to kind of tell yourself, you can kind of be saying those things to yourself in your head while you're doing the finger tapping if you can.
Yeah, this is just such a great tool to have.
Right.
And
because if our emotions are screaming at us and trying to tell us something, you're not going to be able to focus in class, right? Or focus on what's going on. Like, let's just be real. So give that emotion, some space and kind of work yourself back into being able to refocus.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we want to cut it shorter. I don't know what else I could talk about or tap on today.
A question that I had is, as we're coming down our face to the different points, does it matter which hand we're tapping?
No. So if one arm's getting tired, you can totally switch hands.
Okay.
It does not matter which.
Yeah, that was the only question I could think of. As I was trying it, I was just noticing, I was like, I'm doing everything with my dominant hand, and does it matter? And yeah.
Right. Yep. Nope. You'll find that I switch between which arm's getting tired. Yeah, and it doesn't matter for the setup phrase, which hand you use. Nope, it's totally what works for you. And if there's a point, like, you'll see me kind of working around my glasses, right? There's some people that'll take their glasses off. EFT is very adaptable. If there's a tapping point that doesn't work, like let's say you've got an infected tooth and like tapping on your sinus bones or a sinus infection, like if that point hurts, don't tap there. Like you never want to make it more uncomfortable or more painful. So
yeah, and I also noticed just like from sinuses, I experience allergies. And so as I was here and here, I was like, oh, I can breathe better. So.
Right. And the wrist point is the lung meridian as well. So the wrist point is good for any kind of allergies or sinus stuff.
Okay.
So remember, under the nose is the central vesicle or vessel. So that's the front of you. Chin is governing. I might have those wrong, but I know one is the front, one is the back, and wrists are your arm or lung meridian. So if you can't do or don't remember all the points, just remember nose, chin, wrist, because that way you'll still be getting your full body.
Yeah. Well, this is exceptionally amazing, and I'm really appreciative of having this in our toolbox now.
Yeah, you're welcome. And again, switch up the language. You can plug in any emotion. You can, even plug in an event, like with the emotion, right? Like I was really mad when he said this to me, and I can't believe he said that to me, So I did very global, very basic tapping today just to make it kind of something. But again, you can always add to the language or switch it up to work for whatever your situation is.
Yeah. Well, cool.
Yeah.
Well, does anybody else have any questions? Stephanie? I say anyone else, like there's multiple. Okay. Cool. Well, thank you for taking 2 different days to come and share and also give us this interactive time. So
you're welcome.
If people want to connect with you, I think that you gave me your contact info. Is it okay if people reach out to you directly?
Yes.
Okay.
I am more than okay with that.
Okay, cool. I'll make sure to include that when I share the recording with people. So.
All right.
Okay. Well, I'm going to click stop on that just in case anybody needs anything off that.